What's up, guys? Today is a freezing cold, rainy, wet day. We got another 42-day lockdown announced yesterday, so there's not all that much I can do, but I figured today would be an excellent chance to tell you guys and share a little bit of like story time about my top 7 favorite knives. So if you didn't know this, I love knives. I'm a knife enthusiast. Now I just find them very practical for day-to-day things, you know, opening boxes, trying to pry stuff, probably use them for things I shouldn't, just like as fidget toys as well. But these 7 of my knives, each of them has a particular story, which is why they mean something to me. So I figured it would be fun to just share a little bit of those stories with you guys. All right, so the first knife that I'm gonna talk about on this is right here, my Swiss Army Wagner knife. So this one is absolutely beautiful. It's got a really nice 3-inch blade, partially serrated, then flat at the top. It also happens to contain a bottle opener, flathead screwdriver, right there, and also a can opener on the other side, as well as a Phillips head screwdriver on the bottom. So that makes this knife a big blade and also very useful, very practical. Now this knife, when I first got it, it also had a clip on this side, but it does not have that anymore. And the reason I love this knife, and the story behind this knife, is when I was 11, we went back to the United States for the first time in sort of my whole life. So when we were there, I, you know, obviously loving knives, being a little 11-year-old kid, just wanted one of those, and my Uncle Joe, he got me this knife right before we left and gave it to me. So this one's very special. It reminds me of my time in the States when we toured around all of the states, checked them all out, and just also reminds me of some of my family who is not with me but is in the States, and that's why I love this knife. Okay, second knife. This is my Kershaw Speed Safe. So this knife has an auto release system. You just flick it, comes right out. I try and keep it pretty sharp. It's got a nice flat blade, fairly curved. The handle is very ergonomic, fits well, and it's got a clip on this side so that you can easily hook it onto your bag or your pants or whatever it is. And I love that clip because it makes sure I do not lose it when it is sitting in my pocket. The reason I love this knife and the story behind this knife is my dad actually bought this when he was in the US and gave this one to me, being the biggest one, and then there was 2 other ones. He kept one and gave one to my brother Ezekiel, but they were a different model. So he gave these to us right before we went to Israel, and I used this knife so much on those 3 months when we were hiking in Israel, 2019. This knife has cut open pomegranates, shaved off bark from walking sticks, marked trees, carved my name into things, cut countless fruits have been cut with this thing. And I have just done so much with this knife, practically on our Israel trip. It was just one of my favorite tools. I constantly had it on my belt. It was ready to go. So this one reminds me of my time in Israel and you know, that special time hiking. What an amazing trip and a good time as a family. All right, this one's interesting. This one is the 3rd knife on the list. This is my Grizzly Black Edition knife. So this knife is the only one on this list that is not from the US. This is actually from South Africa. So this knife has no spring in it, but it has a locking system that allows you to flick it out with precision. Now what's cool about this knife is it's got this beautiful black finish. So most knives are a silver finish, but this one is black. It's got a nice clip, again, on the back, so easy to hook onto my clothes. And it's very enjoyable also to just flick out, fold it in, flick it out, fold it in, and so forth. It makes a great fidget toy and just something to play with and use. And the story behind this knife is my really good friends, my best friends, Joshua and Hanu van Rooyen. They both had these sort of knives because they're from South Africa. They're South Africans. So they had these knives and we hung out with them so much that I wanted to get one of these knives just so that we would all have matching South African knives and we could be like a little crew club together. So when Josh, my friend, went back to South Africa, he bought me this knife and gave it to me as a present. So I keep this knife. It reminds me of my friends, the Van Royens. I miss them living here and all of our good times together. So this knife is very special to me, and I absolutely love it. All right. So we have got here the fourth knife on the list. This is my customized Leatherman Wingman. So this knife, beautiful silver. It's got a clip on the side, you can see here. So clip on the side, absolutely stunning. It's quite a heavy piece of metal. This is a big brick, as you can see based on the length of my hand. It's a big knife. And this knife is extremely special to me because, if you can see it there on the side, it actually has my name engraved into it. So my initials, NW for my name, Nehemiah Wooten, are engraved in the side of this knife. So the story behind this and how I got it engraved was, again, when I was littler, my grandma was going back to the US for, just to catch up with her other daughter and her son who also live in the US. None of us could go, we were little, we were staying in Africa, but she asked each one of us, what is something you want me to bring back for you from the US? So some of the other kids, they said candy. My brother Ezekiel said goggles for swimming, but I want a knife. And it didn't make sense because I already had one, so I didn't really need another knife. But, I was like, what the heck, we'll see what she finds. So she said, all right, I'll look for something and hopefully I'll find something cool. So when she was in the States, she went to a knife store and found this knife and talked to the owner of the store. He recommended this one. He said this was his favorite knife. He absolutely loved it and he used it a whole bunch when he was touring in Vietnam. So she got this knife and then he was like, well, I can custom engrave it for you. And she was like, oh, that would be super awesome. So as they were custom engraving it though, the funny thing is they actually broke 4 bits trying to put my name on this because the metal was so hard. So it just shows you what a durable knife this is. This knife has scissors, a basic knife blade, but the tip has been snapped off. That's another story. Me and Ezekiel, again, fooling around, trying to cut something really difficult, I stuck my knife into a tree and pulled it out sideways and, I broke the tip off. When you open this one up, it has got spring-loaded pliers, so I don't have to touch them, they're automatic. In this side, Phillips and flathead screwdriver, and then this side, a file, a box cutter, and a bottle opener. So very versatile. The thing I like about this one is it's also very hard, so I can use it as a hammer if I have to. And this one is very useful for fixing bicycles, messing with camera tripods and things like that. So very versatile, very useful. I take this everywhere in my camera bag all the time. Ooh, okay, this one is next. This, don't even know the name brand of this knife. So this knife is just a pretty generic boy's pocket knife right here. I was given this one as my second knife, and it is the oldest knife here, probably at the table. The thing about this knife is my dad gave it to me when I was little and wanted a knife, to cut and make spears and swords and fight pretend aliens and all those little things that I did when I was a kid. So he gave me this knife and he was like, be careful with it. It's pretty durable, you can use it. This knife has no springs, no mechanics, no nothing. You operate it manually from the trigger here on the side. So you just take it, flip it out. Great feel, great blade. It's a little bit small in my hands now. It's clearly a little kid's knife, but I have done so many things with this. The story behind that one, I've just cut so many different things. I've built forts with this. I have made spears and swords and arrows and bows and axes and every sort of thing you can imagine as a little kid, I use this knife for. So it's very special to me. It reminds me of my childhood growing up in Fort Portal and cool adventures with my brother making things and using this knife. Oh, all right, knife number 6. This one is my Gerber Micro Mini. So this knife is an ultra small little Gerber knife. Here's my Kershaw, just for comparison. As you can see, it's tiny and it's light. It weighs absolutely nothing. I also got this knife just a few weeks before we went to Israel, so that's pretty cool. Again, there's no mechanics, no engineering on this at all. You just have to manually open it up. And I love this one because it's solid silver. It's super sleek looking with the design in the handle. It's got the clip on the back so that I can clip it onto my pants again so I don't drop it or lose it. I love this knife because it's so small and I don't feel like carrying a pocket knife that's big and heavy. This one can just go right into my pocket, and I never have any worry about it. I've lost it a few times just because of the size, but again, I've used this one when I was in Israel, but not as much as my Kershaw. But the story to me behind this one is it just reminds me of the thoughtfulness of my parents, realizing when I was just like, can I have it? Because I thought it was cool, and they were just like, you know what, yeah, you can have it. And I really appreciated that, and I just thought it was cool to have a knife that was this small, and it's very practical. I use it all the time. All right, last knife here on the list. This is my Leatherman Micro. So Leatherman Micro, at the time it was patent pending, and as you can see, I have my room key on here as well. I take this everywhere, all the time, every day of my life. It stays attached to my keys and it's constantly in my pocket. And what is cool is this was one of the first knives I was ever given. I had my other one that I showed you a few minutes ago, but the thing about it is it wasn't always the most practical to just have a knife. And when I saw this in my dad's toolbox, I was just like, that is so awesome. And as a little kid, I just wanted it, so my dad, he gave it to me. So this knife is very special to me as a gift from my dad. Like I said, I carry it everywhere. It's just connected to my keys. It's very nice to know, even if I don't have anything else, I have this knife on me. And it constantly reminds me, you know, just of my dad and how much I've learned from him and how important he is to me. So that also on a side note, this tomorrow is Father's Day, so just want to say huge appreciation to all of those who are fathers out there. And if you have kids, I just want to also let my dad know I love you. I think you're the best. And this knife reminds me of that. This knife is super practical. It goes with me everywhere. It's got scissors in the middle, spring-loaded scissors, tweezers, Phillips head screwdriver, micro screwdriver, and bottle opener. And on this side, it's got a very small knife and a flathead screwdriver and a nail file. So I also use this just for so many things, you know, prying stuff off, scraping off old nail polish, prying cement off the back of a bookcase. It's so practical to have in my pocket, and I use it all the time. All right, so that is it for my 7 knives. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please comment below, let me know, and maybe I will do some more videos like it in the future, talking about some other stuff. Again, happy Father's Day, and don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the next video.